Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we have now come to the romantic age
Hmm.
in our what there's a journey of understanding Prometheus
Prometheus,
myth.
the myth
Now
of
we come to the
Prometheus.
second shift, the second big shift, should I say?
Hmm.
That is romantic age. Now, as students of literature, दोनों students of literature
Hmm.
और सभी को we have studied these ages, Renaissance period,
Hmm.
age of reason, romantic age, modern English literature, and postmodern English literature. We have studies English literature in these compartments, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And all these compartments have distinctive attributes, distinctive elements through which we could segregate them,
Hmm.
right? Like something happens romantically, something happens Renaissance, like this. Now about romantic age.
Hmm.
First, romantic age as historically if we see, or literary historically if we see, starts with the publication of Olympus by Alexander Coleridge, right? And with that, French Revolution has a lot, the most influential event of history that was there during that period, of course. With that French Revolution, what does revolutions do? Revolutions, specially led by common populations, especially led by common leaders, what does revolutions do? They instill that feeling of the spirit inside the common population that okay, we are important too,
Hmm.
right? We
Hmm.
are important too in this big scheme of political game that is there. Of course, the monarchical system was all over the European continent, and parliamentary and aristocratic both were running rampant. And but still, there were a lot of issues, there were a lot of problems, representation issues, and everything. With that revolution or any revolution led by population common leaders, it is felt it has a spirit that instills in the population that we can achieve if we want to, if we have the will and determination. That's what revolutions are all about,
Hmm.
right? And we can overthrow this mighty empire, this mighty king or queen who has absolute power over
Power.
us.
Hmm.
We are equally powerful, right? We can do this.
Hmm.
And this power, this determination, this understanding of this power, the feeling of a revolution inside a person, it was directly associated with all these authors of romantic period to Prometheus, because he was such a person who did that, right?
Okay.
Before this, when we have read Milton,
Hmm. John
Milton,
Milton, Paradise
very
Lost.
very famous example it is,
Hmm.
how it is considered if we go into in-depth analysis of Miltonic heroes, Satan,
Hmm.
we consider Satan as the hero of that epic work, not the god, right? Though he is an anti-hero, he led a rebellion against God, which is an act of sin. Of course, if you go by Christian religious traditions, it is a sin. But still, somehow we see Milton sort of what putting seeds of this revolution through Satan, because okay, you are God, you are Almighty God, you can do everything, but where there will be unjust unfairness, people will raise more voice against you, and that the feeling of revolution was symbolized in Satan, right? And Milton was the same figure. You see, we see many parallels between Satan's act and Milton's act in his personal biography. He was with the Puritanist regime, the Oliver Cromwell's regime. How he led intellectual warfare against the monarchical aristocratic power at the time, against Charles I as well, when they executed Charles I, right? So he led that intellectual warfare, and he was that hero figure in his eyes. And of course, who read Milton, they would agree on this. He was that figure, the intellectual war figure who led this battle on papers. Of course, he was not a warrior or sort of. So we see the reflection of Satan in Milton, of course, and that Milton, that Satan figure was somehow can be related to Prometheus because he shows the act of defiance against the unjust he was feeling that was happening. Try to see it this way that Satan is Milton and he was leading a rebellion against the god figure, and that is in Milton's age is king. Milton is raging a revolution or a rebellion against the king himself, the monarchical figure, the absolute power, and so is Satan. Right? So there are so many parallels between Satan and Milton. We can read about. So Milton is trying to set this tradition. Okay, people who are rebelling against the god figures are not villains. Are not villains. Prometheus is not a villain. You see, because he goes against Zeus, right? And he was a trickster before, but he is not. He can be a hero in fact. He is a hero in fact. And with the romantic period, you see this thought, this idea was will solidify. I tell you how. After Milton, we see many instances. For example, there is this poem by Wolfgang von Goethe. He is a German philosopher, author, a very seminal figure in romantic tradition. He was leading the romantic era of German literature, so to say. And he started a movement called Strum and Drug. Strum and Drug. And in that moment, through his writings, he was trying to start a movement in which hyper sentimentality will be expressed through his works of literature. Hyper sentimentality before romantic period, we have crossed age of reason, in which conduct, morals, and wit was so important. Structure was very important. Going by frames were very important. But Goethe, he says that no, emotion and sentimentality are way more important than any of those structures, old archaic structures. And through Strum and Drug movement, he starts that. He writes a poem titled Prometheus Movie, in which he presents Prometheus as a person who commits a defiance against the god figure and who is a hero, who is presented as a hero. So the first hero instance we see in Goethe's poem Prometheus. Right? The same title Prometheus is given to another poem of the time, or Thoda Sa Aage Ka, our all-time favorite Lord Byron. Right? So हम सबके favorite है Lord Byron. And for obvious reasons, right? And he wrote a poem called Prometheus. And I cannot stop myself from quoting
Sure.
lines, one or two his lines that thou art a symbol and a sign to mortals of their fate and force. Like thee, man is in part divine, a trouble stream from a pure source. What he is trying to do? He is trying to address Prometheus, and he's saying that you are a symbol and sign of a symbol of sign to mortals of their fate and force. That they have this force. They have this fate. You are a sign and symbol of that, and like you, they are part divine as well. He's trying to say that we have come out of you only, and humans are also part divine, and you have given this feeling to these humans because you gave them something which they didn't have, right? So in part, you gain that divinity that you had with you. So he is addressing Prometheus like that, and rightly so. So you see these tradition, and what is Lord Byron is trying to do? Lord Byron is trying to commemorate this figure, Prometheus figure. Okay, you did this for us. It means you are important to us, and you are respected, right? And you are almost like a hero for us because you did that for us. That is solidifying the hero myth of Prometheus, hero side of Prometheus. Next example, contemporary one only of Lord Byron, P.B. Shelley. These are young romantics. I'm sure सबको पता है literature students को young romantics, older romantics.
Second wave of romanticism.
Second wave of romanticism. P.B. Shelley, Lord Byron, okay, friendly, and he writes as in the beginning only. You talked about the drama, the
Hmm.
four act drama, the closet drama. He writes, and he modeled this drama on Aeschylus' tragedy, the trilogy of tragedy, which he wrote on the Prometheus Unbound, right?
Hmm.
Aeschylus, who was a Greek dramatist, who
Hmm.
wrote this in the way back during the time of Aristotle. He was there at the time, and he wrote these trilogy, these dramas, and at the center of the drama was Prometheus, the figure, and how Aeschylus depicted Prometheus at the time in the Greek period, in Roman period. How he depicted, he tells us about the story, what happens after the act of defiance.
Hmm.
Okay, he committed that sin, he stole that fire, and he gave that to humanity. But what happens after that? He is bound to a mountain and he is being
Hmm.
punished by the
Chained.
eagles.
Hmm.
And but in that state also, Prometheus is not ready to bend his knee. He is
Hmm.
not ready to bend his knee. He plans and waits how there can be a chance that he can escape and Zeus will pay for whatever he has done. Right? He's planning and waiting for that time. So he has not bent his knee. His determination will is still strong even after the centuries of torment. Right? This is how Aeschylus has depicted Prometheus in his work of drama, the trilogy from his
Hmm.
right? And then he explains that then in the drama only how this happens and how Hercules will be a figure. Hercules will be a figure who will finally
Hmm.
rescue Prometheus. So this is whole
Hmm.
story goes around, and so did Prithvi Shelley. Prithvi Shelley now we all know the centricities of P.V. Shelley.
Hmm.
How P.V. Shelley conducted his life and how he conducted his writings as well. He was a rebellious figure. He was a revolutionary figure, of course. In all his writing, that revolutionary the act of revolutionary in all his writings, all his books, almost. So what Shelley I have so Shelley's this drama is sort of when you read it, you feel that it has a feeling of all the ideals Shelley has for the society, for himself as well, and for the greater all the revolutionary ideas that are there in his head are there in the acting drama Prometheus. And to be honest, Shelley emerges on as a figure who was trying to establish a notion that establishes poet philosopher as heroes.
Hmm.
Poet philosophers as heroes. Okay, poets and philosophers are the people. Philosophers हम हटा भी सकते हैं because वो Aristotle का point आता है उसको. Poets are actually the actual revolutionaries who will bring change to this society. And he was trying to do that all his life.
Hmm.
He was committing act of defiance after defiance through his writing, many writings we have seen, many pamphlets he wrote. He started with Robert Southey, I guess. He started he started a different society which could not succeed, unfortunately. But you see, all these acts he was trying to establish, and he wrote a beautiful piece of essay as well. Mm, an apology for poets or something in answer of Thomas Carlyle's the act of poetry, the ages of poetry. Sorry. So in that sense, he's trying to defend poetry in that essay. He's trying to defend poetry and establishing the fact that poets are the real revolutionaries.
Hmm.
They will be the people who will win. So he is establishing poets as heroes. And in that act, the four-act drama, he's trying to establish the same fact that Prometheus is an artist who gives creative freedom, creative sense and technology to humans. And he is an artist too. And same way he is a revolutionary, so as we are the poets, P.B. Shelley, as likes of P.B. Shelley. Same. So that established, yeah.
I was getting a question in my mind that uh, with Byron, what I am observing is people are trying to, with time, people are trying to mold and mend the story as per their needs, their requirements. Like they
Yes.
are trying to utilize or maybe try to mold the truth of the story as per their requirement, because as we talked when it was Shakespeare, he was using it as a Promethean heat, vitality, and when we are shifting to Byron, things are getting political, and I think this is how it's going to grow. Yeah.
She rightly pointed out so, because see, all these authors are not living in isolations. They
Hmm.
are products of whatever they have studied in schools, in
Hmm.
colleges, in universities. And what they have studied, they have studied all these living traditions, and
Hmm.
they have learned from them. Also, they're living embodiment of their society and culture. If Shelley is living at the time and something bad is happening at the time, and act of war or something, they are out at tortures against poor population or labor class. So
Hmm.
as a writer, it will be his obligation to
Hmm.
write about these things, because the writers do that only. They write about the realities of life, right? And that reality, to establish that reality, to make people aware of that reality, and maybe to criticize or satirize the authorities who are responsible for all those acts. They will use established myths and established stories, and will try to mend them and balance them,
To
so
communicate
that,
their ideas.
yes, to communicate, so put forth what they have actually in mind,
Hmm.
right? And how they want it to be there, so that people can associate with the already established myth, already established story, and they will enhance their understanding of it in the contemporary times.
Hmm.
That's how writers start. That's how, see, in the beginning we said that these myths are universal, they are used again and again recurrently throughout the history, same myths, for this reason only. Writers, in order to sell their products, in order to express what they want to, and in order to reach out to the audience or readers, they would be using these methods only, trying to get them familiar with something that is already there, and trying to present a new idea in the blend.
Hmm.
Right? This is how writers do. Right?
Hmm.
This is how we all do. The writers, all the writers in contemporary world, they do. And this is how myths never go out of fashion. Right? So this romantic with this we kind of wrap up the romantic
Romantic
feeling
period.
about Prometheus. Right? A stark different account of Prometheus comes into in the form of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Hmm.
हमने सबने फ्रेंकस्टीन वर्क पढ़ा है ना?
Hmm.
और हम सबको स्टोरी समराइज वर्जन में आप टेक्स्ट वर्जन he has all this wants to experiment, and he wants to create something marvelous, something supernatural out of that world. And of course, every scientist is in history, they are ambitious by nature only. Because what's the use of all the knowledge you have collected? You have struggled all through your life to gather certain kind of knowledge. You would have to share it all, right? Everyone would have to share it. And with that enthusiasm, they can have the good of humanity in their hearts as well. No doubt. Like the same would happen with Oppenheimer too. So, see, this is a young scientist who is trying to create something, and in result, he creates something disastrous, something monstrous, the opposite of what he had in mind. And in result, he loses everything. He loses his family, his fiance, his love life, and everything. His career and everything. And he starts to chase the monster across the globe. So archaic circles and this is how story ends. So see, Mary Shelley, she wrote this work novel, I think when she was 18-year old, and she's the wife and lover of P.V. Shelley only. And Lord Byron and these three were in close association. So she wrote a story. There was some kind of a bat or something. Okay, we'll each write a horror story, and she writes this. There are many psychological readings of why she wrote this and how she wrote it, because she lost a child as well, and this and that. We all know about that. See, but for us, the question is why she used the subtitle Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus. She uses this subtitle, the modern Prometheus. Where does this come from? Modern Prometheus, this word itself, you'll be surprised to know, this word comes from Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, the very famous German philosopher, he was almost a single-handed pillar of modern philosophy. And in his writing, he was writing a piece on Benjamin Franklin, American politics, Benjamin Franklin, and in that
His kite experiment, I guess, which got famous.
Yes, yes. So he uses this word that Benjamin Franklin is the Prometheus of modern times because of his experiments with electricity. Because as Prometheus who gave fire to humanity, he is giving another source of energy to humanity. Right, same energy, and this will bring much convenience to humanity and whatnot. Right, so another kind of the revolution. So he uses that term for Benjamin Franklin, and Mary Shelley takes that term, adopts that term from them, and calls her work subtitled "The Modern Frankenstein, the Modern Prometheus." Now, brilliant thing is, Immanuel Kant uses as a compliment that he is a Prometheus of modern times. But Mary Shelley, she criticizes it. She uses it in a satirical way. Why? Because Frankenstein, in order to create something out of the world, creates something disastrous and monstrous. You see, modern Prometheus, according to her work, modern Prometheuses are not the older Prometheus who brought something good to humanity. Modern Prometheus brought something disastrous to humanity. That is what she's trying to imply, if we want to read this in this way, right? So maybe she is criticizing this Prometheus myth altogether. That okay, glory and everything, the great scientists and everything, but you brought disasters to humanity, and that will be a cue to go to Oppenheimer.
This, I think, is a new thought in the whole chain of it because
right.
Before.
So please continue.
Yeah, because while we were talking about Prometheus through Romantic era or Shakespearean era or Plato, so the idea of destruction was never there, but it was like a boon, a vitality coming down to earthen people. But I don't know how. Could you please, if that covers your research, how did she, why did she picked up this notion of you are bringing down disaster? Was that because of her child birth and?
People have read in intertextual studies or subtextual study, people have in psychological analysis as well, author and biographical analysis as well, people have tried to draw these conclusions that maybe she was going through a difficult time, and when gives a sort of a birth to a supernatural human being who is of course by the young scientist Frankenstein movie, and how we collected all those pieces and somehow sparks the life into the dead body, and how it came to life. And maybe she has these repressed or suppressed desires because of that the lost
Child.
lost child, right? Because she could not do that. She was unable to save her child. This is humanly impossible. So maybe this humanly impossible thing, she's trying to achieve that by creating this character who can do this. Maybe people have tried to draw conclusions, but who can say?
Yeah, that's, we cannot pinpoint and say this was the reason, but like as you said, loss of the child. So what I am thinking is maybe like before her, everyone was observing and focusing on the positive aspect of nature's gifts and power of nature, but being a mother herself, I think she had a guilt deep down ki I can give birth, but I cannot battle the death. So it's like a disastrous, yeah, I can say, like if you can relate, it looks like a disastrous tool in itself. Ki you can give the birth, but you cannot control the life of it.
What happens after that?
What
Yes.
happens after that? Yeah.
Right. So maybe all that she had in mind, and that suppressed desires, as Freud studies those comes in our dreams, interpretation of dreams, he did that study, and those suppressed desires maybe came out in the flow of this writing spree that she wrote this story in that bed, and she was trying to create a horror story because that was the bet among the three writers, and this is why we can see people have drawn conclusion that she did, this is why she did this. But for our discussion, we were focusing on the subtitle that is modern Prometheus, and why rather than saying that modern Prometheus could do something good for the society, he doesn't. He doesn't. The Prometheus in that novel of hers, in that story of hers, does not do it. He tries to, of course, but unknowingly or knowingly, he brings disasters to the society, disasters to humanity, and at the end, that disaster has to be removed. No other way, because that cannot live for long. So she tries to criticize it, and she tries to criticize the term itself, the modern Prometheus. Okay, Prometheus was good and glorific and everything, but these modern Prometheus, they are not good. That's what she's trying to imply. Maybe again, it's a fictional story. Who can say much? Right? So this is distinctive, stark difference from the romantic tradition of the Prometheus myth we see. Right? So again, we can understand this that this is a novel format, and that too horror genre. And we are from romantic period. We will move towards the 19th century Georgian period and Edwardian period, where we see the rise of novels, story, and horror stories, the rise of horror genre as well, and different kind of stylistic, different kind of aesthetics as well. We see all that, and this was the demand of the hour, I suppose, right? And to create these suspenseful stories, thriller stories, to retain their interest of the public, because the nuanced stories that we see later in the period of 20th century, the stream of consciousness stream with Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, that came later. Before that, novel was a very simplistic storytelling format. This is a simple story, and that is presented to the normal readers. And the complexities came later on, with the rise of with evolution of literary genres as well.
Psychoanalytic studies and Freud and stream of consciousness.
Complexities of understanding as well with that. So this happens, and this is how we wrap up the understanding of Prometheus myth in this way. Then we will go to the 19th century, 20th century, and Franz Kafka. Actually, because I picked this thing because Franz Kafka is an important figure in 19th century modern literature, and he's a German author. I'm sure some literature students know Franz Kafka. He's very famous, and you will you will see जो अभी हम बात कर रहे थे complexities, the layers and nuances in the style of writing. We see it with French Kafka. He wrote a piece on Prometheus, and he gives 4 to 5 aspects of this Prometheus myth. It's easily available on Google you can see that, in which he gives a different interpretation to the same myth. Okay, maybe Prometheus did that, but maybe later on he was fooled. Maybe Zeus was not that angry, he was just being egoistic, maybe. So he gave all these aspects to the same Prometheus myth, just to keep it an open ending to this myth. So he was kind of experimenting. It's not a short story, it's not a proper piece of something. It's just a small piece in which he gives 4 or 5 aspects of the Prometheus, which was to me was very interesting. And